Xbox has dodged a couple trends, and I think they need to dodge one more. Xbox. They do lots of things. They make various commercials with controllers playing saxophones. They have ninja cats DJing, and they've dodged a couple trends, and I think they need to dodge a couple more. So over the past few weeks, we've heard about what Nintendo's doing, what Sony is doing, and what Xbox is doing in various ways. And I think it's kind of important to dial it back and understand where Microsoft is focusing, and honestly where they honestly shouldn't be focusing, if I could say that correctly. So let's just kick it off here with the VR phase. So the PlayStation VR 2 is not doing well. Now, when the Xbox Series X came out, everyone's like, Microsoft should do VR. Metaverse is the holy grail of the future. Everybody's going to have legs in the metaverse. Microsoft needs to build a native headset that is compatible with the console. Now, we kind of starting to see the tea leaves here that maybe that the VR stuff is just going to kind of remain a niche market. The PSVR 2, which is a good piece of hardware. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a terrible piece of hardware. The problem is that it's really, really expensive. And so at $550 to build that really premium hardware, it's a tough sell. You've really got to love VR to want to go spend that kind of money. And not all that surprising is that Sony's having trouble meeting their own internal estimates. According to the IDC, who came out with a report that says, like, look, this stuff isn't really doing exceptionally well. It looks like Sony is sitting somewhere at 270,000 units sold, which is a large number. However, Sony wants to hit about 1.5 million units in a year from now. Now, notably, that is already down from 2 million units. So they've already cut expectations, and they've got to sell roughly 1.25 million units in a year, and everyone's just sitting there thinking, going, I don't think they're going to do it. And it doesn't work. The PSVR 2 does not work very well on the PC. It's a console-specific things, which means you are a market within a market, meaning if they don't have a PlayStation, they're not buying the PSVR 2, obviously, because that's where it's designed to function. And again, at $550, everyone is expecting this price to come down, which means Sony has a choice to make. Is this going to have to be sold at a loss? We don't know what the margin is on this. I'm assuming that they are making money at $550. If they are not making money at $550, that is a very, very serious problem. Granted, with 270,000 units sold, Sony knows how many games they will sell approximately per user. When they buy this thing, they're going to go buy 1 or 2 games, and they'll make X amount of dollars on that, so they will have margin baked in there. But on the actual hardware itself, we don't quite know yet. And we may not ever actually know. We can always hypothesize. But expectations are this price is going to have to come down. But to what price point actually makes sense? We don't really know. Microsoft has sold a lot of mixed reality headsets, and by Microsoft I mean through third parties, and it seems like you got to be around like that $250 price point seems kind of be the sweet spot, but even that, there's sacrifices that have to be made in quality, and so it's like, that may not be a perfect analog for what Sony is doing here, but the reality is that Microsoft does not have a native headset that connects directly to the Xbox that provides VR functionality, and I think they dodged a bullet. I really do. I don't think Microsoft should build a VR headset for the Xbox. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. We know that Sony, the industry leader in the console gaming, which we've all seen that play out through the course, can't get this thing moving unless Microsoft could come in with a blockbuster product at $100 and have a whole bunch of content lined up. But that's not a the reality of that situation is not going to happen. We already see how difficult it is for companies to get games out on time. I mean, everything is delayed. Let's just be honest. Like, if a company announces a game more than a year out, expect it to be delayed. And then you take just launching the game and saying, well, it's got to have VR functionality too at launch. And it just really ratchets up the complexity. And I think Microsoft has made the correct decision in not trying to go after the VR headset market. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Microsoft. Now, that is one segment that Microsoft has dodged. And I think I'm going to get a little blowback for what I'm about to say here. Microsoft should not build a handheld. There are rumors coming out right now that Sony is working on a new handheld called, codenamed the Q-Lite, and Sony has launched many handhelds over the year. I don't think Microsoft should build a handheld. I really don't. I don't think there's a compelling argument for Microsoft to build a first party handheld. And I think there's some logic to this. I'm not just saying don't build a handheld, because let's be honest, an Xbox handheld would be interesting, but at the same time, what are they going to gain? Microsoft has time and time again told us to judge them based on the revenue of their services from Game Pass. That is where they want the focus to be. They got to grow Game Pass revenue. If Microsoft launches a handheld, are they going to sell more subscriptions to Game Pass? Probably not. That is my justification for why they would not do this. You might say, but yeah, they would, Brad. People are going to, well, okay. The target demographic is probably people who already have an Xbox, and that demographic more than likely will probably already have Game Pass. Now, granted, they might see some uptick. That is, you can very much argue that, and I will believe you. You can say, yeah, Brad, they'll see 5% more people sign up, whatever your random percentage is. That is a logical argument, but I don't think it's enough to justify going out and spending the time and materials and the effort to build a handheld, not to mention the market risk of doing such a thing where you launch a product and it doesn't sell well, then you've got tons of inventory and everything else like that. But the other thing that doesn't make sense for Microsoft to build a handheld is they've been telling us they kind of don't want to build one. And if you don't believe me, like, look at this. The Logitech G Cloud is a very close device, right? It is a product from a third party. Granted, it only does game streaming, but that is the market that Microsoft wants to target. They want their products they want Game Pass, I should say, everywhere. In the minute that they build a first-party device, it really starts to constrict what the messaging is. Right now, they're like, put it on everything, sell it everywhere. But, oh yeah, we also have this premium experience and you should only use it here. That goes against the narrative that Microsoft is trying to pitch currently. Not to mention, the other big thing that I think works against Microsoft actually building a handheld is, what could they do better than a Steam Deck? Now, the Steam Deck does not natively run Xbox Game Pass. That being said, most of the popular games that are from Xbox also land on Steam these days. And so what could Microsoft do that is going to give you a better handheld experience than the Steam Deck? And I don't think there's, at the same price, mind you, at the same price, I don't think there's a great compelling argument to be said that Microsoft could build a better Steam Deck. Yeah, it might be Xbox out of the box, but a Steam Deck, you can get most of the games. I mean, Microsoft, let's be honest, they aren't shipping Xbox exclusive games that are only available on their hardware, right? Like Forza, look at Halo. You can play them on the PC. Yes, that's Windows, but it's not Xbox, if you guys know what I mean. It's not the console. And so Microsoft puts out a handheld. Let's imagine that they do put out a handheld. And what is their pitch? It is, you can play all your Xbox games on here locally. Well, you could pretty much do that with the Steam Deck. Yes, I know there are some specific titles somebody will call out that says, no, you can't do that. But let's be honest. The big bang titles, the Forzas, the Halos, if they get the Call of Duty acquisition, all those things are available on the Steam Deck. And I don't think Microsoft can do it at a better price point than what Steam is doing. And so these are two trends, like the handheld and the VR. The VR feels a little bit more past, if I'm honest, just because it feels like we've kind of moved away from, like, yes, VR is a great thing. I have a headset for my PC, a mixed reality headset. It is wonderful, but it's used sparingly, and it's not something I want to game with personally. Some people will absolutely want to game with it. I am not one of those people. That being said, the next trend is the handheld, right? We have the thing coming from Sony. The Switch does immensely popular, but the Switch and Nintendo is a completely separate sort of demographics, different product category. Very locked down. You can only get Nintendo games for the most part on the Switch. And so Microsoft doesn't take that model. They keep saying, judge us on our Game Pass revenue, and by locking it down to a specific piece of hardware that mitigates their entire strategy. And not to mention, you can put Game Pass on the mobile on any device, right? Android or iOS, you can now stream your games, and if they get their mobile app store like they are promising through the EU, if they can close that acquisition, that really again hurts that dedicated mobile piece of hardware. So I don't think Microsoft should go after the VR stage for consoles, and I don't think they're going to be doing that at this point. And I really don't think they should build a dedicated mobile. Embrace the ecosystem, the things that made Microsoft so popular on the Windows side, which they're trying to do on the Game Pass side, and run with that model. I don't think Microsoft should build a dedicated handheld. I can't wait to read these comments, and you should keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.